This is Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk. Here are your hosts, Dr. Tim Slecker and Dr. Johnny Lupinacci, educated educators talking education.
There it is, Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk, educated educators talking education. First downs, Friday nights, busting balls, you name it. That's what we're doing here. Johnny Lupinacci, how you doing, my friend?
Hey, man, I'm great, Tim. It's good to see you. It's always exciting to be convening for this segment. It's probably my favorite thing of the whole week. That being second to, spend time with my kids, my family, and then my team. So I'm excited about, a conversation today because, man, dude, there's nothing better than being a coach and a teacher and an educator and all those things wrapped up into one role. When the guys call you coach, it's something special.
Yeah, and we love it. And guess what? We've got our friend Jimmie Kaska, Coach K, here joining us again to do a little bit of breaking down this experience of what we call coaches. Jimmie, how you doing, buddy?
Doing fantastic, guys. I too look forward to this segment every week. I wasn't part of the segment last week, but I got an education last week in listening to Mel Dow, who has a passion for sports, specifically wrestling, at a very, very good Stoughton program that he was the athletic director for, and now, of course, has taken that vision statewide. This segment for me is also one of my highlights.
Yeah, I love that. Make sure you go back and check out that episode last week. We just really name, image, and likeness. I had no idea that was a reality dealing with high school students. We did that there. The other thing to do before we get going here, hey, check it out, man. Busted Pencils. We have our mailbag. It is 608-557-8577 is that number for the mailbag. Always looking for your comments, your criticism, your admirations, your adorations, maybe even just some plain old simple talk. 608-557-8577. That's the Busted Pencils mailbag. You can get in touch with us. Let us know what's happening. Hey, ideas for Friday nights, busting balls, first downs too. We'd love to hear from you. What would you like to hear about on this segment? If you're a coach out there listening to this and go, I want to be on, well, then we want to have you. In fact, get in touch with Coach K. We'll be there. All right, fellas, though. We're talking about our own experiences here in this idea of, well, let's call it Coach K. You're already there. Coach Johnny Lupinacci and Coach Tim Slecker here. We've also had our experiences then in that standpoint of saying that, I know what it's like to coach. I'm going to admit off the top here, my experience coaching at the high school level was largely volunteer as a wrestling coach and not as when I was a teacher. My most coaching time was actually spent with junior football when my son was in middle school and really working in junior high football. So my experience as a coach was really as a wrestling coach, volunteer. And I got to tell you what, trying to coach wrestling 30 years after you were a wrestler, oh my, not a good experience for those first couple weeks. That's all I got to say.
I can empathize with that because I jumped into coach 20 years after my playing days. I'd been broadcasting for over 20 years. And then I'm like, one day I decided, I'm going to coach football, right? Well, there's a longer story to that, but I jumped in and a little worried because it had been so long since I'd been away. But one thing that I learned right away is that, if you're an adult and you're there to help them, kids generally are pretty good about taking that advice in stride. I know there's a lot of horror stories about like, oh, the kids don't listen. They got their electronics, they're on the front. And it's not really like that. A lot of them that are, in a sport or any extra activity, band, art, whatever it is, they tend to be the more engaged type of students, and they tend to be more focused on what you're doing. So they tend to listen a little better. Obviously, for me, it was great to get back into it. It's helped me tremendously when I do play-by-play as a broadcaster, because now I've refreshed everything in my mind of what, instead of going back on experiences that are now in the black and white era, the 1990s, or as my son calls it, the 19s, when he tells me that I'm old. Now I have all these recent experiences I can share. I know how teams are, what software they're using. We're not mailing VHS tapes, overnight. It's Huddle now. You've got a lot of different apps. You've a lot of different safety things that are in place. There's so many things that have changed in just the 20 something years from when I played to now that I'm a coach, that I can really empathize with that, because it is quite an adjustment, because, back in our day, things were a lot different. So
Johnny, before you jump in though, I got to just say this, Jimmie Kaska, you brought up VHS tapes. I'm going to date myself. I'm telling you, when I was playing high school football, we were watching films. And I hate to say black and white, not because there wasn't color invented yet, but because our school district would not pay for color films. But we watched films, and I remember Coach Novak, whenever he was yelling at my buddy Nick Butala, "Boots!" and he'd try to hit rewind on a video that was going through in a tape, and it would get all crumpled up in the machine. Oh, man. Film day, though. Love film day after football events. Johnny Lupinacci.
Well, fellas, it's gotten much better in that department. We have, iPads and all kinds of like YouTube streams and great film footage. The second the play itself is done, you can be rewinding and going over things, which is awesome, because coaching is so much like being a teacher. And this is a plug out there for anyone who's doing both, or who's coming into teaching, or you're an educator and you're looking to connect. Find an extracurricular. Doesn't even have to be a sport. And you don't have to be like Tim, Jimmy, and I have been players. Like, there's some of my best coaches, right, have not been players of a sport, and have been, advocates of children learning and being in a space together. And almost every sport, and I'll say this, even like whether it's the drama club, the band, all of these have training programs to learn to be a coach in. And it's a great opportunity for your students and for the community to learn about you and to see you in a different capacity as an educator. And I will just tell you, hands down, one of the best things I ever did while I was teaching in high schools and in a classroom was also being a coach. It just kind of helped facilitate that relationship, brought down learning barriers for a lot of students, whether they were my athletes alone or whether they were just participants in the school community. It just really helped us all be together. So just my plug for anyone thinking about it and thinking, well, hey, I didn't play football. Like, trust me, they could use you. They'll find something for you to do. And Tim, you hit the nail on the head. I don't know very many coaches that aren't volunteer. This comes out of the love of the sports, a love of seeing young people doing something healthy and that's complementary to their education. Remember, being at school is so much more than just your reading, writing, and arithmetic. Yes, those things are important, but you're also growing up and learning how to be in community. And there's no better place to do that than in a club, than in a sport, than at an activity where there's some volunteer usually. That's sort of, leading that. And it's an amazing experience and something that's ever important. So that's my plug for it, man. It's such an important part of our education system.
The way you talk about the volunteerism, though, too, I wonder if we could just engage in that discussion for a little bit between the three of us, because I'm wondering, we keep saying, first of all, let's stop calling them extracurriculars. Let's call them essentials, just part of the core, whether it's football, whether it's choir, whether it's drama, all of these activities that create the community around an entire public school. What are we saying, though, to those who are participating when we require volunteerism in the coaching areas? Is that a statement of saying, like, that's why we actually believe in the volunteer aspect of this? Or is that a devaluing of the sport where let's say in the case of sports right now, schools, we don't have enough money to, quote, pay for coaches. And so the reality is if we're going to have this extra, God forbid we call it an extra, then all of you are going to have to put in extra work. Parents, teachers. Is volunteerism a problem, or is there a virtue potentially on the side of having volunteerism being the way we actually bring people to a coaching realm? Jimmy, what do you think?
Well, I'll say this. I think that especially when you're talking about Wisconsin and rural public schools, that, if you're a coach, if you're a paid coach, you're not making a whole lot per hour. So, you're getting maybe $1,000 to do, 40, 50, 60 hours a week in season, more out of season, being at team events, et cetera. Like there's, the line between being a paid assistant coach and a volunteer coach. I mean, that's a pretty, that's a pretty fuzzy line, because there, a lot of the coaches that are doing this in Wisconsin are not doing this. They're not in it for the money. You don't make, we're not talking about deep South football, for example, where you can get a 6-figure salary to coach high school. It ain't like that here with any sport. This is a stipend for most coaches, or, you get an extra percentage of your base salary or whatever it is. It's when you look at just the aspect of people coming into a program to volunteer and donate time, I myself am a volunteer coach, and this is my 3rd year volunteering as a coach, and I spend a lot of time, doing the data. I do our huddle. I do a lot of things with social media to market the team, try to get interest in the team. It's really hard to do sometimes when your team has the 4th longest losing streak in the state right now. But we do our best. We promote the kids. We stay positive, and I know that when you have more people there that are involved, whether they're a coach, whether it's a manager, having somebody from another sport come over, and help with a practice or show some technique. These are all pieces that I think add to the greater whole. Everybody that's involved, they want to be there. And from a student perspective, they don't really see the difference between an assistant coach who's paid and a volunteer coach who isn't.
Exactly.
And I'm just saying that from my own experience. If you're a coach and you're there every day, the thing that is most important to students and to any kid is that you're showing up and that you're there.
Yeah, and what's great is so many of these different sports have governing organizations that provide so much learning, even for you as a coach, right? Like I know as a hockey coach, the USA Hockey provides so much training and support around, one, making sure I have my background checked, that I have safe sport, which is making sure all of our young people stay safe, right? And then also, learning about concussions, learning about all of the ways that people can be injured, both physically and mentally and emotionally. And so you learn a lot about how to support young people at the level of growth that they're at. And I know that's true in football. I know that's true in wrestling. And I know that's true in so many of the other sports that I've been lucky to have been a part of, both as a player, but then especially as a coach. So, it's just a wonderful thing. Those volunteers are actually, oftentimes highly qualified. And not just because, hey, they were good at this sport or they know a lot about it. Like that's just a little fraction of the benefit that young people get by having coaches. The biggest benefit is that they have an adult in their community who cares about them and who is really aware and how to help them be, adults in our community, to grow into that. Because what we know is that, yes, it's about the competition. It's the fun of things. It's playing the sport. And of course, dreams of being in the professional leagues or going to college or getting a scholarship. That's just not the reality for so many of the young athletes that we teach. So it's really important when coaches are there to support them. Like Jimmie said, like they're consistent, they're there, and they're saying, hey, it's so important that you're here, that you're being healthy, that you're going to school. This is life. These are life skills we're developing together. When you're a grown up, you're going to lean into these habits that you formed together. You're going to know how to be a member of a team. You're going to learn how to lead. You're going to know how to take responsibility for things. You're going to have great time management, because your homework, your health, all of those things are taught and learned by being a member of some extracurricular. And I really say it that way because I don't want to just emphasize that this is sports. Like there's so many things. We have esports now, which is a huge thing for kids. We have quiz bowl. We have debate team. We have with cheer, we have dance teams, we have band, we have all these ways that young people come together and have the opportunity to gain these life skills. And all of those require leadership and coaching. And so it's just a big plug. It's great to be sharing that. Yeah, that's been a big part of my life as an educator. It still is, even as a professor. I love coaching the college hockey team. It's invaluable to my connection to campus and community. And it's just a great way to, I think, round out education, to reinforce and support the reason why anyone's going to school is to become a better person, right? And so, yeah, we're learning skills that we'll use on our jobs or that we'll use in the world, but also how to put those skills to work in a team setting. It's really valuable.
You know, the way you put that too, Johnny, I like that part where, and it feels to me like there is something positive about the kind of volunteerism that makes this happen, whether you're the advisor for the debate team, whether you're the assistant wrestling coach. Those ideas there too is that these extras, or essentials, as we like to say, really do bring an opportunity of community members to come together, to not just be about the academics, but to realize the whole education. That's what we're talking about. The biggest education around is not just sitting down, math, reading, and writing. You guys are putting out there. Jimmie K. Wonder though, too, as we're coming down here, closing out our, man, we go so fast when we do the busting balls segment, though. Jimmy, meaningful, awesome, impactful moment from coaching.
Well, last year, I wasn't sure I was going to come back after my first year. My first year experience was a wild ride, and I have a lot of commitments in my life. So, I had offers to go back into broadcasting on Fridays to do coach. Instead of coaching, I could call games for not a great amount of money, but like I'd get paid instead of being a volunteer. And working 7 days a week, I'd have the one night a week. But I think what the most impactful thing for me was that last year, the students recruited me back. They found me at Quick Trip. They found me anywhere in town, and they say, "Hey, it'd be great if you came back. We really liked having you." And I never thought that there'd be a group of teenagers who'd be like, "Hey, it'd be cool if you came back and hung out and coached football with us." And that really meant a lot to me. I had to pay it forward this year. We had 12 seniors this year. One told me at practice just yesterday that he was not going to play football until I pulled him aside in our first summer contact day and said, "Hey, I got a big role for you. I would really like it if you came and you stuck with it, because I think you could be a major force on the team. I could use you on special teams." Well, now he almost set a school record in kick return yardage last week. And by the way, he's probably in line for an all conference nod at safety this year. He's 5'6", and he's third on our team in tackles, which is crazy.
Johnny Lupinacci, best moment.
Oh man, there's so many.
I know, right?
There's state championships, national appearances, all the things, all the big wins and the close games and being close to young people competing those always rival for moments. But I have to say, aside from being called dad, every single time someone says coach, it's the most impactful moment. So whether I'm at school or whether I'm grabbing a coffee in town, it's invaluable. That's my most impactful moment. You get a text from a player that's 15, 20 years past having been on your team. It says, "Hey coach, going through this," and then fill in the blank. And when you're a coach, you are really a member of your community and you're a part of someone's life in a special way. And so aside from being called dad, it's the every single time the most impactful thing is every time I hear, "Hey coach." That's my most impactful moment that I've experienced.
Oh man, making me think too. So mine, I'm going to make it to this, wrestling, that freshman that came out for wrestling for the first time ever. And somebody's going to say, what, their first pin? No, actually watching them get their first maneuver, their move that scored points, and that ref putting up the 2 fingers for 2 points on a takedown, watching somebody get that first takedown. Amazing. Just one of those moments. Again, you feel like Coach Kaska, Johnny Lupinacci, man, love busting balls with the two of you guys every Friday. It is awesomeness that we're here. If you love this segment and want to hear more about this segment, or again, have ideas, comments, critiques, we want to hear from you. It's 608-557-8577. Coaches, man, you guys rocked and busted pencils. And now it's time for your moment of Zen. If you join a fight for social justice, you may win or lose, but just by being part of the struggle, you win, and your life will be better for it. Thanks, everybody, for busting pencils. Make sure you come in on Monday for, hey, it's that homeroom. And don't forget, give us a call. Tell us what you're thinking. 608-557-8577. Busted pencils, fully leaded.